In this video, we are looking at a very popular tune, Never Going Back Again by Fleetwood Mac. Of course, the guitar work by Lindsey Buckingham has some amazing riffs and just compositions in general, and certainly this is up there. But I will say, I'm going to label this the most difficult, easy song to play. You really only have like 5 or 6 measures of total music for the most part. But there's some intricacy to it, and I'd say the most difficult part about it is the left hand. It is just, depends on what guitar you're on. So I'm on a classical guitar, and the reason for that is because it's fingerstyle and I use nails. So I don't use nails on steel strings because it'll tear them up. But a classical guitar neck typically has a 2-inch width, so the strings are more spaced out. So some of these little hand gestures and positions in the left hand have a little bit of added difficulty to them. So I'm on capo 3. I think the original is capo 5 if I'm not mistaken. So this is based off of the original studio recording. But if you go listen to some live recordings of Lindsey Buckingham playing it, you will hear and see that he plays it a few different ways, and he definitely changes the key. Pretty sure I've seen him with capo on 3, probably mostly to adapt to the voice later in life, but it might be for the left hand. And you can see when he's playing, his hand is really stretched out in some of these positions. I don't know how big his hands are. Mine are not big, and some of the stuff can be pretty challenging. So exercise caution going into this tune. Be very careful with your wrist. This is the only song that I know of that uses, at least fingerstyle, that uses a double bar. And it is a funky double bar. I've got a couple of options for you as far as fingerings go, but yeah, just be careful. If it's causing any pain, I'd step away from it. So just want to throw that out there. However, if you're on a smaller neck, an acoustic steel string, it's still going to be a challenge, but that should alleviate some of that. So I'd say, like, best case scenario, steel string acoustic with as shortened of a neck as possible, if you will, and maybe sitting in a classical stance, because this is going to give you a little bit more reach and better positioning. He'll always have it on his right leg or he's standing, but this is something else that you could utilize. Putting the guitar on your left leg, it might help out with some of that flexibility. And also, if you capo up a little bit higher, if you have a cutaway, then that will also help alleviate some of that. So you have some variables to play around with in there. Just want to give you some things to think about as you're going in here and working through this wrestling with the left hand. Anyways, so what I'm going to do is basically just kind of play slow, call out fingerings, call out right hand stuff, and point out some tips. I'm not going to call out every string number, fret number, because that would be super laborious and boring. So let's jump right in. All right, so first thing you want to do is make sure you're in drop D tuning. Don't use that to tune to D. I've got the capo on, but do drop that 6th string a whole step. Majority of the chords that we're seeing in the song are an A major, D major, just in different formats. You're just throwing chord tones in there for the most part in most situations. There are some other little chord tone extensions, but we're not going to get into all that theory mess. It's mostly just D and A chords, and then we've got B minor and an F sharp minor in there. So one of the things that makes this song tricky outside of the left hand that I was mentioning is the right hand. That bass is walking in a very Travis picking oriented manner. That's happening through the majority of the tune. That's definitely something that you want to get comfortable with. Another thing that makes this Travis picking oriented, as I'm calling it, one is that, and the other fingers, your index, middle, and ring, are kind of assigned to strings 3, 2, and 1. So index is on the 3rd string, middle finger is on the 2nd string, and ring finger is on the 1st string. That stays pretty consistent throughout the tune. I think there might be one instance where that isn't the case. So those two things, the alternating bass line that stays pretty consistent throughout the tune, and then the finger assignment makes it Travis picking oriented. So now, one of the things that I was saying that makes it tricky is that you've got this happening, which is certainly an even gesture, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2, and then you have these patterns on top that are in threes. So there's going to be some muscle memory to try and lean into there, because you've kind of got twos against threes, so to speak, right? Sorry. That's kind of the MO of the song, at least in certain spots. So slow practice and do your best to visualize here. So what I'm going to do is just go through one measure at a time, a couple different speeds. For the most part, I'm going to have you just look at my fingers, right? Just rewind the video, look at my fingers, look at what I'm using. But like I'm saying, right hand is basically just, there's finger assignment taking place there, and then you'll be able to see what my left hand is doing. But in particular on the left hand, if there's some important tips that I think are going to make a big difference, then I'll point that out as I'm going, okay? Okay, so first measure. There we already had that little pattern that I was talking about. So the thing I'm going to point out here is that I'm not keeping the bar down. I think he keeps the bar down, but it's a little too tight for my hand, so I'm going bar, no bar. I'm kind of hinging up there so I can get better clearance. That's another problem with this song, is you're going to run into just muting strings. So you just got to play around with your left hand position and see if you can find some different things, but don't compromise the health of your hand, right? So watch when I kind of pivot up there. Okay, second measure. So mostly the same things happening there in the right hand. In the left hand, a couple things to point out. When I do the little slide, I'm using 3 and 4 here, and then I'm gonna slide back with my third finger and kind of hammer on down with my middle finger. I'm just kind of dragging it into that position with force. And you'll get that note to ring out a little bit. The way this stuff is written in tab or sheet music can be a little confusing, because it's telling you to slide from here to 3 and 4, which is physically impossible unless you use like some super awkward fingering or something. So going like that works just nicely. Okay, and the other thing is, when I slide back into that, I'm posting that index finger up, I'm not barring. And also when I'm going to fingers 3 and 4 here on the 5th fret, my index finger is off. I'm not trying to like maintain that contact. Just too much strain in the hand, right? So one more time. Okay, next measure is just a big sequence. This is going to be something to think about in terms of getting in position. So I am going to have a bar here. My index finger is barring 3 strings. All right, so this is something that might be particular to my hand, just for the length of my fingers, size of my hand. Some people might find it possible to like just maintain a bar on the 2nd fret the whole time on 4 strings, whatever. I adjust it. So I go down to 3 strings there, and then I've got my pinky and on string 2 fret 5, and then my ring finger on string 4 fret 5. So this entire measure is just a sequence here. And it's going to take some practice to hear and know when you need to break out of that and go into the next measure. But it's just a pattern going with bass notes, string 4, 5, and 4, 5, 4 with this, which is exactly what I was talking about earlier, right? So one way to think about this sequence or pattern is, so the first beat you're playing thumb on 5 and ring finger on 1, middle on 2, thumb on 4, index on 3, ring on 1, right? That's your first beat. When you come back to that exact same pattern, that's the last beat, okay? See if I can demonstrate that slowly. Right here. Right, and it's kind of hard to hear because it's just the same thing over and over, right? So it's got to be counting and kind of locking into some of those patterns and sequences. Right there. And then we're going into the next measure. So, again, to reiterate, adjust your hand position here. Get that index finger down, barring 3 strings, because you got to stretch fingers 3 and 4 out here. And here again, you're going to run into an issue of clearance, making sure that you're not hitting the other strings. Really wonder how he came up with this stuff, because when I watch him play it, I can see his hand looks really tight. So, anyways, and then let's get to that last measure, which is going to be okay, so a couple things happening there. We're just walking down this D chord, and then we're going to scoot up here with 3 and 4. But when we do that, pluck string 5. You don't want to hammer it. And then right back. And then here we're going to be no bar. Okay, do that again. Sorry, excuse me. Okay, so I'm going to go through all 4 of those measures, the entire verse section. Couple different speeds, keep it under tempo for sure, just so you can see it and hear it all put together at a slower speed. A lot of details to think about. You'll see when you go back and look at that I corrected myself. I put the bar down and I went back up on the finger real quick on the tip. All right, so one more time with that. So that's the verse. Take your time with it. It is, there's some details to think about there, and especially in terms of how you set it up with the left hand. Those details matter. You don't want to hurt yourself, right? So exercise caution. Now, getting into the chorus, this is that double bar that I was talking about. It is funky, and I don't like it. So we're going to basically hold a bar on strings 4 and 3 here at the 7th fret to the capo. And then we're going to end up putting a bar on the 10th fret from the capo, either with the pinky or the ring finger. I went back and forth. I don't know which is better. I did it so much with my pinky that my pinky kind of crapped out on me, and I went back to the ring finger. So I would say just use your best judgment. There is a possibility of using the ring finger and the pinky on individual strings, but it's kind of difficult to slide both of them in there with the speed that things are moving. I believe Buckingham uses a bar with the pinky, so I'd say bar would be your best bet, pinky or ring finger. All right, so first measure, I'm just going to go ahead and go with my ring finger because my pinky's, like I said, super tired right now. There's a lot of repetition in here for these first 3 measures, which you're going to see, but can be a little bit challenging to keep up with. So here's the first measure. So there's that pattern again where the thumb is going boom, 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 bass notes, and then we're going ring, middle, index, ring, middle, index, or if you're familiar with the Italian markings, it's A-M-I, A-M-I. Let's do that again. So watch this finger not be a bar, and then it'll be a bar, right? So right here. Okay, so the second measure, very similar. It's going to start out basically the same way. I'm going to pluck the 3rd string with my bass note, but then we're going to have frets 9 and 8 relative to the capo, 9 and 8 down, 9 on 1 and 8 on string 2. And then we're going to be right back into that bar, okay? So time with that. Third measure is exactly the same as the first, except on the first measure I did not pluck the 3rd string with my first bass note, and here I am. And it stops 1 note short right there. We're not going to play the last note because we're going to have to transition back down here. Okay, so do that one more time. I can feel it's getting tight. This is going to be the 3rd measure specifically. Okay, so I'm going to put those 3 together, and then I'll get to the last measure. So all of that together is... Okay, not easy to keep up with that. It's like very similar, but different enough to make you have to think. There's strain in the left hand. There's patterns going on in the right hand. A little bit of a brain teaser. Okay, and then we're going to slide down here to that B minor chord that I mentioned. Shift this down for the F sharp. So I'm going to adjust my bar here from 5 strings to 4 strings. So... right back to a 5-string bar, and then right back to not a bar but just pressing string 4 fret 2 down. Okay, and that was string 4 fret 2, string 1 fret 5. Okay, just gonna play that again. let's put that whole chorus together. That is everything, guys. I didn't want this video to be like, details of put your fingers here and this is what an A chord is. I wanted it to be more about the technique and positioning. I'm assuming you're either working out some sheet music or some tab. And this is to basically supplement that. If you are a beginner, I do not recommend working on this. If you are just getting started with fingerstyle, I do not recommend working on this. It's going to be a really tough thing to, handle in the left hand and the right hand. It's just not a beginner tune, even though it's a short amount of musical material. There's a lot to think about in those 5-6 measures, whatever it is. So just a word of caution and my advice. If you're at that stage, it's just going to be something that takes so long, it's going to be frustrating. You want to play things to have fun. But something to look forward to in the future. So hope you enjoyed the video and see you in the next one. Thanks.